Now I have my tuning pipe. Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum bum 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 ba dun 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 da 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 dum bum bum ba dum ba ba dum ba da 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 dum ba da 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 dum ba da 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 dum bum ba da dum ba da 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 dun, 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 dun. Hello, my friends. Hello, mighties. Hello, Facebook Live friends. It's so nice to see you every Monday night. Here we are. Excuse me. Yes, indeed. I see lots of people from everywhere. Junette, I see her each week, and Harry and Leanne. Hi, Leanne. You inspired this one tonight. You and your group, your wonderful group. I see you guys are all getting to know each other. I just love it. I love it. We've got a community growing here. It's very, very good. You bet. Very good. So, hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joette Calabrese, and we do this every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We do what is this that we do? We talk about homeopathy. And I give you some food for thought. I teach you what I know. And I assume that you know plenty too. Or if you don't, join in, no matter. This is all about learning homeopathy, whether you're an expert or, yes, we are talking about Zamboni. Whether you're an expert or you're a newcomer, you are welcome here every Monday night at 8 Eastern Time. So, excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of my water. Um, Someone asked me a while ago what that thing was back there. Can you see that thing? See this thing here? I'll get it. This is a paintbrush that I got in India. Is this not the coolest thing? It looks more ornamental than functional. Um, so the second year, I think I was at the Prasanta Banerjee Homeopathic Research Foundation. Oh my gosh, it's got fuzz on it. And I just got it on me. Um, there were workmen painting the outside of the building, and this is what they were using. They were putting it in the big buckets and painting kind of a whitewash. And I said, "Oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen." So Dr. Prateep Banerjee, and I were up on the balcony in the back of uh, the building, and I said, "Prateep, that is the coolest brush I've ever seen. Where can I pick one up?" He said, "What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. Why would you want something like that?" And I said, "Because we don't have these kinds of things in the US. We might find something like this long ago, but not any longer. But I don't know if you can see. This is a piece of wood, obviously, and it's carved. You can actually see the carvings on it. And it's not decoratively carved. It's carved so that it can hold this piece, this strapping here that holds this little skirt. Very cool." And he just couldn't get over the fact that I'd be interested in something like this. So he said, "I'll get you one." Because I said, "Oh, can I take one of the old ones that are all beat up?" Because they were throwing a couple of them out. He said, "Absolutely not. Don't you dare. I'll get you a fresh one." I said, "No, no, 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 no. Just tell me, where do I get one?" He says, "At a hardware store." So, all right. I decided that one day I was going to take a little time off and I was going to walk to the hardware store. Now we're talking about Calcutta. And for those of you who know Calcutta, you know a hardware store is not like going to Home Depot or Lowe's. Oh, nay, nay. It's much different than that. Now, maybe in other big cities, but not Calcutta. The hardware store in Calcutta is along a wall, an outside wall, and there's a little like carved out area into the brick. and a man is sitting in like a cupboard, his legs crossed, and all around him are all of these tools. Some of them were these paintbrushes. And so you don't walk in, you're on the sidewalk. He's only a foot in, or maybe 2-3 feet in. And at the end of the day, when it's time to close up shop, he simply gets the doors, they're like French doors, wooden doors that close right in front, and he puts his lock on it. And that's his hardware store. So fascinating. So incredible. Great world that we live in, wouldn't you say? So I'm not talking about paintbrushes tonight. I'm talking about what would happen. Now, for those of you who live in the South, you may not know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to show it to you. Or if you live in Europe or other parts of the world, you may not know what I'm talking about. What if you were hit by this? Not this little toy, a Zamboni. Now, I particularly think it's a funny name for a truck, but it's not just any truck. This truck is the kind that they use on the ice rinks for hockey players. And so this one says Buffalo Sabres, and this is my hometown, Buffalo. And this is what they run across the ice during the time that the players are taking a break. And it's called a Zamboni. My guess is it was named after, I don't know, Angelo Zamboni, Rocco Zamboni, and it goes across the ice. And so it always cracked me up because I always thought if you were to get hit by a Zamboni, it's a very big machine. I don't know if you can see the little man there. See that little man? So Leanne and her study group sent this to me recently, and I got such a kick out of it. I've been traveling and I've brought it with me. It's so much fun. Oh, Susan Bergman says Buffalo's my hometown too. It's a great hometown. So let's imagine that someone is hit by a Zamboni. Now, if you're hit by a Zamboni, it's most likely that you're on the ice. You shouldn't even be there. But you could see how maybe you're walking across the ice. Maybe you dropped your, I don't know, something, your bracelet fell off and it rolled across the ice and you ran off to get it and you slid right under the Zamboni. Now let's imagine the injuries and what would we do? What would we do if we were hit by this thing? Well, I don't know if you can see this part right here in the front. It scrapes along the ice. And I think it, kind of, flattens it along with you. But let's say it was just a graze. Let's say all that happened was that you slid across the ice and it bumped into you and all you got was a little graze. Nothing serious, not a big deal. But enough that you knew you were going to have black and blue the next day. You were going to have ecchymosis. You were going to it maybe hit your shin, and shin it means that the bone is very close to the skin, and maybe you injured the periosteum, the kind of the protective coating uh, of the bone. Now, what would we use? I'll tell you what I would use, and I'm sure all of you. Yes, yes, yes. That's a very good choice, arnica. Arnica is great for the injury itself. Very good choice. Aconitum, arnica hypericum, says Harry. You bet. So let's be real specific, though. Let's talk about. We know that it's arnica for an injury. Okay. We know that it's hypericum. We're going to use 200s for these generally. We know that it's hypericum for the pain. Okay, so we can put those, we can alternate those. How painful is it? How shocking was the event? It's not so bad. Well, you just take some arnica every few hours. But if the pain or it was quite shocking, then we're going to use it more frequently. But we're not quite shocked yet because all this Zamboni did was it just kind of grazed against your shin. Now let's talk about after the fact, after the injury itself. It has bruised essentially the bone. Now we're going to use one of my favorites, my all-time favorites is Symphytum. Symphytum, Symphytum, Symphytum. I would always use Symphytum in a 200. I would not bother with Symphytum in a lower potency or even necessarily a higher potency. Symphytum 200 does such great work. I'm going to hold our Zamboni like this. But I want you to know, my friends, that I would also consider using Ruta. Ruta graveolens. I think that's a really good choice for a bone injury. Not broken necessarily, just let's say, well, it could be for broken, but we're not there yet. Right now, all the Zamboni did was graze. Ruta graveolens, that's right. And both of these medicines I would use in a 200. So then how would we do this? How would we use this? Does it mean we use arnica and then 2 days later we use symphytum and then 2 days later we use ruta? And if there's pain, we might throw in some hypericum once in a while? No, that's not the way I would do it. If wait, this little guy just got out and he says, "Holy cow, I just hit you. Oh my gosh, I just hit you." And he looks down, he says, "You're not so bad." Okay, it's not so bad. Back into the Zamboni. It's not a bad injury. It's just a little grazing. No, I would use the symptoms to determine what what the potency should be and how frequently and what the remedy should be for that matter. Now, I say that I'm going to use a 200 across the board. We're going to get into a little different potency in a little while, but let's stay with 200s. And I would say that we're going to use them every couple of hours. In the beginning, we might use a little more frequently. If it's really bad, the pain is, oh my gosh, this is going to be really painful. Look at this. I can see that I'm bleeding under against the bone. It's going to turn black and blue in a couple of days. So then I would indeed use the arnica for the worry, for the excitement, for the fact that it was an injury. And then I would go to symphytum 200, say twice a day, and ruta potentially 200 twice a day. Yeah, I might use all of those. Now, let's say that night you go to bed and the pain it's not good. And the arnica often helps with pain. But I think I'd go to Hypericum 200 and it would be, and I would use that every few hours until the pain subsided. And then you're going to look for that tipping point. At what point is that pain able to be uh, uh, softened? If you find that if you take the Hypericum every 3 hours, then there's your time clock. That's what you're going to go by. You have found that tipping point. If you find that the pain comes back in an hour after using Hypericum as well as the others, then we're going to use it more frequently. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now let's say your bangle fell off your hand. It rolled across the ice rink. You ran out to get it. You slipped. You landed slightly under the Zamboni, and there's injury to the breast. Now what are we going to do? Let's see what people say. I know you guys are going to get it. I know you are. This guy, I mean, he just needs to watch it a little bit more. See, you're not going to, this guy doesn't slide around on the ice. This has real control on the ice. It's the people around that might not have control. Let's see what you folks are saying. If you slip under and there's an injury to the breast, Bellis, very good. Very, very good. Injury to the breast is Bellis paranis. Could you use arnica? Yes, you could. But I think even better than arnica is Bellis paranis. Bellis paranis. And I would use that in a 200. Same thing. I would do it in the same way. And I might still take the arnica because of the injury, the fact that it was an injury. And then Bellis specifically because it is injury to a certain place, to the breast. So beautiful. But I also want you to think about, let's say Bellis paranis does not give this woman relief. It could be a man too, by the way. But it's more likely a woman because there's more tissue on a woman, breast tissue. You can also consider conium. Yes, my friends, conium. Conium is a great remedy for breast injuries. And so this guy is already done damage twice. Let's I hope his insurance policy is up to par. Now let's say your bangle falls off your wrist. It rolls across the rink. You, by accident, slide under, and the Zamboni runs over your back. Now you have a spine injury. Now we're talking serious. And when it comes to something that's serious, you might want to get to the hospital. I don't mean you might. Yeah, you want to get to the hospital. And on the way to the hospital, what are we going to use for that injury? For a spine injury? I know you're all going to know. I know you are. People are still saying hi. Another Buffalo native, Susan Hamlin. Hi, Susan Hamlin. I have friends named Hamlin. Hamlin in Buffalo. Yep. Bella, symphytum, says somebody. Hypericum. Thank you, Leanne. Ding, 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 ding. I would use hypericum. I would use hypericum. It is indeed a bone, which is why someone said, Diane said symphytum. But symphytum is a remedy that's broadly for bones. If we have a specific bone, the head, the neck, the spine, the coccyx, those are areas that we know more specifically what remedy to use. And it's going to be, yes, Joanne says the same thing, hypericum. Now, we could still use Hypericum 200. We could use a 1M, but we could still use Hypericum 200. If there's a spinal injury and you're on the way to the hospital, you're going to need a little bit more than just Hypericum because of the type of injury and the pain. You're going to need something else. In my estimation, yes, spinal injury. Thank you, Wanda. Good job. Absolutely. Hi from Elma, New York. What else could we use for this injury? Because a spinal injury is sobering, and we're going to get this person to the hospital right away. And on the way, we're going to be administering every few minutes. We are going to use. Let's see if anyone comes up with anything. Because of the shock of it all, because of the intensity of it. Ledum and phosphorus, says Harry. Good choices. Good choice. Not my first thought, but yeah, good choices. Love the way you spell phosphorus, Harry. Aconitum. Leanne, you got it. I would use aconitum. Aconitum nipalis is one of our best medicines for something that is so shocking, an event that is so intense, an event that is so sobering that it almost puts the person in a state of shock. They don't have to be in it, but if they're almost in it. No sorries, Harry. No sorries from you. Yes, I would use aconitum. Absolutely. So now when it's a spine injury, we're going to be using, I've got some notes here that I jotted down, hypericum. But we could also use arnica. We could also, there are many other medicines we could use. And now let's say where on the spine? Let's say as you slipped under the Zamboni, your whole body didn't go in. It was just your head, and the Zamboni hit right at the cervical area, right at the upper part of the spine, close to the head. Yes, gobsmacking. Yes, Leanne, it's gobsmacking. Now what are we talking about? Any other ideas? Still aconitum. I would still use it because it's so shocking. Still hypericum for the pain. Yes. And let's see. I love that remedy, aconitum, says Kimberly. You bet. Oh, Kimberly. Hi. Another Buffalonian. Hi. Close to the head. On the spine, but close to the head. What potency I would use 200. I'm using 200s for all of these pretty much. Maybe hypericum for the extreme pain. We might go to 1M, sometimes even higher than that. Ruta, good choice, good idea. That's not what I had in mind. Ruta is in there. Let me give you another hint. What if there is confusion after this injury? After this upper spinal injury? Now what are we going to use? There's mental confusion. Person's not right. They can't think straight. So it's almost like it's an injury to the head. Christina, you got it, sweetie. Nat sulf. Yes, nat sulf. Agaricus is another possibility too. But Nat Sulf is injury to the head, a physical injury to the head, or an injury that is close to the head. So the spine that is up high. And often there is confusion. I have used Nat Sulf. I have a friend who had a head injury, a couple of head injuries, as a matter of fact. It in case you haven't noticed, for those of you who are not in practice, let me tell you what my experience is. That's oftentimes people who have one head injury have repeated head injuries. It's almost as though it seems as though how could that keep happening? Well, I believe it happens because there is a loss of depth perception. There's a loss of balance after one head injury. And so I have a friend who's had that happen a few times, and Nat Sulf has been, how do we say that, Leanne? Gobsmacking. Nat Sulf is amazing. I want you to remember it. I use this Nat Sulf for head injuries all the time. It's a game changer. It absolutely is a game changer. It will bring someone round. Now, you don't use it once. Use it maybe once a day, twice a day for a few days, and then even weeks after. And then you stop, see how the person's doing. And if some of these symptoms return, you know you didn't use it long enough. That's all it's telling us. Don't let any time that you find that you use a medicine, homeopathic medicine, and it acts, and then you stop using it and the condition returns, don't think, well, it returned, I don't know what to do now. Well, no, you do know what to do. You use exactly what you were using last again. In other words, don't tinker with success, my friends. Stay with it. Absolutely. Old head injuries, too. How old? 2 weeks ago? 2 years ago? 2 decades ago? Yes. Not because the person had a head injury or a spinal injury that was close to the head, but because they still have ailments from that. If you know that ever since that head injury, that time when that person slid under the Zamboni and it ran over the back of their neck, if you know that ever since then that person's not been right, and you know that, don't speculate, my friends. This is medicine. Don't speculate. If you know that, absolutely, you can use Nat Sulf. 60 years ago, you bet. Yep. 6 decades ago, 7 decades ago, the person has never been right. That is the medicine that we often consider. It's not the only one, but it is one of our best ones. It is, as Leanne says, a game changer. Okay. Let's just see. It's nice to see everyone here. It's so good. It's so darned good. Alrighty, let's go to another one. Okay. How about there's an injury? You get hit by the Zamboni. It's not absolutely horrendous. Maybe it's just that, it just hits the shin. You're going to have a little bone injury. But that night, you have diarrhea. And the next day, you have diarrhea. And the day after. And now we know, ever since that injury, ever since that Zamboni injury, this person has had diarrhea. Anybody have any ideas? It's not hard, believe it or not. It's actually easier than you think. And so if we think in terms of ailments from an injury, generalized ailments from an injury, including diarrhea, and think if you've taken my good gut, bad gut course, think of rectal concerns. When there's a Leanne says veratrum, I would consider veratrum, but, and I would also consider arsenicum. But there's another one. Because there was an injury, because there was kind of, I don't want to say shock to the system. I don't want to lead you towards aconitum necessarily, but, and the rectal pain, we're not saying there is rectal pain, but because we know that the rectum is a very specific remedy, could be nux vomica. Oh, people are, come on, you're getting closer. You're getting closer. think what we've already talked about, one of the medicines we've already been talking about, because it's a remedy that is for overall injuries. Now, it doesn't mean that veratrum album or arsenicum or nux vomica or lycopodium would not help. Aloe might not. Yeah. Yes, Melissa. Arnica. Yeah, that's what I would use. I'm not saying the others are not right. We have many remedies from which to choose. Joanne says arnica. You bet. Nice job. I think arnica would be a very, very good medicine for that. Because we've had an injury, the justification of using arnica, number one. Number two, because arnica is very specific for rectal conditions, even though diarrhea doesn't necessarily even mean rectal. It's colon, really, when you think of it, but it's so close that I would think of arnica and I would use it in a 200. So if there is an injury, after the injury, if there's diarrhea, do consider arnica. Do consider it. All right, what else do we have? Let's see. Oh, I should have done this a little bit earlier. I did a little bit backwards. Confusion after an injury, confusion after a head injury. And that's usually what it is, although a person can have confusion if they've had a tendon injury. But if it's a head injury, we're back to thinking that this could be a medicine that is, um, um, let's call it the spine and head. Let's go back to that. So that you can, so it can help you remember that this medicine is not just good for old head injuries, old spine injuries, but also for when someone is confused. Somebody's saying, "Po, what are we using? What are we using for post-traumatic stress disorder with this poor person?" Well, if you use these medicines as we're describing this, the PTSD will likely not present, or if it does, it'll be a milder version. And if it is a milder version, you're going to go back to the medicines that you were using at the time of the injury. We're talking right now about doing this as you speak, as you see the injury occurring. You're in the stands. You were watching the hockey game. This person ran out and got hit by the Zamboni. So you've got your kit right there with you. And that person, let's say, is related to you, and you're going to be in the ambulance with him or her. Well, it's a she. So it's a bracelet that she's wearing. Nat Sulf, thank you very much. Yes. Nat Sulf. Nat Sulf is for confusion after head injury. Nat Sulf is for confusion after spinal injury. Is this not incredible? I don't know. Does this turn you on? I think it does. That's why you're here with me tonight. Turns me on. We've got 1 minute left. And we could keep going with this Zamboni injury, but I want to tell you something else that I think could be useful to you because there's a lot of this. How about loss of taste and smell after a virus? Now, for a longest time, first let me say this. Loss of taste and smell, or loss of taste and or loss of smell, they don't have to be concomitant. For years, I've used Sanguinaria 200, and it worked quite well. And I also want to tell you that anyone who's been in the health field knows that when flus come around, respiratory infections come around, it is super common to lose sense of smell and or taste. Very common. So it's not unique to these last couple of years. What is unique is the sheer numbers of people who are complaining about it and the length of time that it seems to be lasting. So I'm going to give you a clue that I think that is going to help you. It has helped me in my practice, and that is to use magnesium muriaticum. Magnesium muriaticum. I love what you're doing. I love what all of you are doing. You're coming up with great ideas. Gelsemium, Thuya, Pulsatilla. Love it. It doesn't mean those are not good medicines. But I'd kind of forgotten about magnesium muriaticum for loss of taste and or smell. But then I found it in an old book, an old homeopathy book on cases, because I'm studying cases lately. I'm preparing for next year and what we're going to present. And I came across magnesium muriaticum again. I forgot all about it. And that's what happens. Yeah, it is fun learning. Harry, you're the best. So, what potency would I use it in? Magnesium muriaticum. I think I would use it in a 200. And I would use it once daily. And I would give it some time. And if this taste and smell start to peek through every once in a while, because that's what I'm hearing, it peeks through. I smelled something 20 minutes ago. Oh my gosh, I could smell the rain. I smell rain. Oh, and then it's gone. Then you know you're onto something. You're moving in the right direction. Stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it. Yes, magnesium, just the way it sounds. Muriaticum, muriaticum, muriaticum. And I would use it in a 200C. Now, another way you could consider using it, if you don't happen to have that, I actually think this is interchangeable. I would use magnesium muriaticum in a 30 also. That's another possibility. And in that case, if you used it in a 30C, I would use it twice daily. And there we have it. Our fun Monday night. Share this with your friends. Please, friends. We need this movement moving fast, faster than ever. I want this medicine in every household. Every family needs this. We need to move quickly because the powers that be are very powerful. And so I want that if anything were to come of doing harm to homeopathy in any way, of course, harm has been done, but I want it to be too late. I want this to be so many people who have this medicine in their possession, these medicines and this information in their possession, that there would be no turning around. And so let's move quickly. Share it with everyone you know. Teach them some of these. I don't know, get your own Zamboni and start using it as a prop. Thanks, friends. Love it. Love you all. You're great. God bless you. Mwah. Till next Monday. See you then. Bye.